I think we're ready.
How many do you have?
32.
All right. And here's what we would like to do, Vanessa. Can you see this?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so forth. Odd, you are A.
We're A.
All even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? You guys, you're B. So everyone point to your partner. Everyone should have one partner.
And this is where we left off last time with our favorite person, John Hollingsworth. But Larry, I know you and I talked a little bit, and you want to sort of just give some new ideas and reinforce the ideas of the engagement norms.
That's correct. I like using gestures when I do the student engagement. So what I like to do is let's go over all the 8 and remind ourselves why we need to recall these engagements, because I'm going to, in a minute, actually give a lesson. We're going to pull it up, and you're going to see me do like all of these in a matter of minutes. That's how effortlessly it should be. So let's just go ahead and watch me. You see I have my hand, and I go pronounce with me. We pronounce any difficult words first. And that's just to remind the students to listen for pronunciation and to make sure that we don't ask them to say the big words first, like onomatopoeia or hyperbole, words like that, big words. So I do this, pronounce with me. The second we do is track with me. So when we track, we're having the students follow along in the lesson that's pertinent contextually to what you're teaching. So if you're teaching in a sentence and there's some important content there, you want the students to track with you in case you come across a vocabulary or a phrase or idiom the kids have never heard of before, and you want to make sure that they're keeping up with you so that they don't get lost and turn to their partner and say, what word was that? Or what was that idiom or phrase? So when do we have our students track with us? When it's absolutely pertinent to the lesson. When you need to make sure that they're on the same page as you. All right, so that's track. The third one is read. I like using my hands. I open up as a book, and now say, students, you've just tracked with me. You've just learned that new word. Let's all read it together. So why do we do this? Again, it's to allow all of our students, not round robin reading, not just one student, but all students to practice the new vocabulary. And all students can benefit from reading sentences, whether it's word problems or whether it's language arts, science. Everyone benefits when all students choral read. So when I say read with me, I mean chorally. And then the fourth one is gesture. I like to do gesture. So I can gesture with the students. It keeps them engaged. They're kinetically doing something, and it has meaning. So if I say, students, let's compare and contrast, the students are reminded that we're doing two things. And I like using gestures for those sorts of things. A right angle has a vertical and a horizontal. And then I like using my hands to show equal. This is the same as that. They're the same, equal. And I use whole hands for addition. Subtraction means to take away. Multiply means added groups. And then finally, divided means to divide or split up. So I like using those gestures. So why don't we right now, A's turn to B's, and then explain one of the student engagements. And then when you're done, B explain to A, what's another engagement? Just the first 4. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, why don't we close it up in about 10 more seconds. Joel, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call on a non-volunteer, and I'd like you to tell me what's one of the 4 engagement that you talk to your partner about. And let's call on number 14. Go ahead, 14.
So I talked about the gesture with me. So using hand gestures, especially great for students who have little to no English, so, doing addition or subtraction, they're understanding that hand gestures, and depending on what you're teaching, the hand gesture can match what you're doing.
Okay, great. And 14, who is your partner?
It's 13.
13? All right, 13, what about you?
Okay, we talked about pronounce with me if the focus of the lesson is on learning new vocab or something specific that they may not be able to break down the word or say it, to take that out of the way for them to make sure that you're doing that first.
Okay, now 13, I'd like you to call on someone between 1 and 32.
19.
All right, 19, what did you pick?
We talked about track with me, and then we also talked about read with me. So the idea of the children tracking as we do the reading before then they join in with us for read with me.
Okay, and then what did your partner choose?
So like Mel said, I did the read with me, just like what you said, that the core reading and everyone reading together, that everyone benefits from it. I thought was interesting. So yeah.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Now, Larry, I do have some thoughts here really quick, before we move on. One of the thoughts I have, I love the idea of pronounce with me, right? Because it reduces the linguistic demand of the lesson. So we're focused on the concept development, and the new word isn't going to be that much of a distraction. It's a wonderful new word. The second thing is I love that we did that someone called out track with me. And according in the United States, we have the American Reading Panel. It says phonemic awareness, phonics, and whole words. So when we're pointing to something, even though the students can't read the word engagement yet, they can't read engagement yet, we're still going to point at it. And maybe we do something fancy like backward syllabication, mint, gauge, in, engagement. And then last, just a quick little story, everyone. My favorite person, who is an 8-year-old, I was doing these lessons with her, and she looks up at me, and I said, honey, I need you to track with me. I need you to read with me. She looks at me and she says, no, I already know how to read it. I already know how. So one thing I completely forgot is what? The metacognition. Hey, everybody, I know you know how to read this already. You're all very clever. But the reason we're doing this is to help you remember. And I want to hear your voice nice and loud. So whatever metacognitions that you have with your students, I like candy, guilt, reverse psychology, whatever those connections you need to make with your students, go for it. But we always kind of explain why we're going to do this. And I know we do that with our pair share, which is coming up next. All right, Larry, go ahead.
Okay, great. So as a reminder, we want to remember that this is constant. This is for anything. I mean, it could even be for a review. It could be for activate prior knowledge or any part of the lesson. We always want to be able to engage our students and have them constantly be involved somehow. That's what we like with student engagement. So, all right. So that was the first 4. Let's look at the second 4. This was a pair share, but I'm going to do something different. With pair share, we have A/B partners. That's how we set it up. You can also do fun things like peanut butter and jelly, wallabies and kangaroos, red and blue, or whatever you want to do. The idea is that the kids, one person talks and the other listen. And then we need to make sure that we switch. Sometimes I forget to switch them out, but the students will remind me, hey, Mr. Federico, you forgot to switch us. So I always tell the students, if I forgot to switch you, just call me out. And they'll go, okay, switch time. But here's what I like to do, especially for our older students. I like to do this. Did you talk to your partner? Yes. What did your partner say? This really helps students listen better, because now they're tasked to listen to their partners, and they have to share out what their partner said. So try doing that sometime. Don't do it all the time, but once in a while, just say, all right, if you talked to your partner, yes, I did. What did your partner say? And then repeat what they said. So it makes all students good listeners. But here's the other thing. My partner didn't say anything. This is a good way of making them accountable. I'll say, okay, partner, go back and talk to your buddy and tell them what you think or what you would have said. This always gets that student that opportunity to do it again, come back to them. So pair share with the idea that you have to listen to your partner and have them share out what they said. So that's going to be my new play on the pair share. And also we want to make sure this, especially for math, Do you agree with them? My partner said 6 times 3 was 17, and I said it was 18. You can also use that opportunity to correct each other. So we want to make sure that we pair share, we provide process time, that they prove it, and that they point to the correct answer. So what's the 4 again? Pair share, process time, prove it to their partner, and then make sure that they point to the answer. So that's going to be my addition to the pair share. Joel,
Larry, no,
add to that?
that's a new take. Show us a gesture one more time for pair share, because
Okay,
that's brand new to us. Go ahead.
so let's talk. This is pair share, of course. A talk to B, B talk to A. The second one is process. I'm pointing imaginary watch. So process it. Think about it. Process is great for those students who need a little bit more time. Maybe they're
EL
second language
students.
learner
EL students, yeah.
or whatever. Yes. Then we have prove it. So I want you to prove the lesson to your partner. How do you prove it? You have to explain and apply what they just learned. So I'm going to show you, this is a contraction. I'm going to prove it and point to why that word could not is a contraction, couldn't. And so this is an example. This is a way for students to be able to teach each other, explain it to each other, and then the other one says, yes, I agree with you. That's a contraction. All right. And so that's why we point. Why do we point? To show the partner where they are in the text. We're right here. So wherever you are in the lesson, you point to the part that the teacher showed you so that you both agree. It's a better way of getting kids to be on track with you. So those are my gestures.
Larry, my question to you is, when we're doing pair share, a lot of our teachers don't like to do it because they kind of lose control of the class, or they kind of let us know that it doesn't work. Do you have any advice or ideas on how you get your to have effective pair share, no matter the year level, if it's foundation, year 1, year 2, or year 5s and 6s? What are your thoughts on them, please?
I think one of the things we work on at the beginning of every year is why we pair share. And I tell the kids that. I said, students, when you pair share, you get to listen one more time to the instructions. You might have missed it. Mr. Federico said something, but what did we say? So students, you can turn to your partner and say, I wasn't listening. What are we supposed to do? So I tell the students, this is a grace period. They could go ahead and talk to their partner, and sort of, if they drifted off, which our kids do, it's an opportunity for them to save their partner. And I tell them that's one thing that's really positive about the pair share. Plus, now's the time you can make a mistake. Like maybe you added something wrong and your partner can correct you. Instead of the teacher calling on you and you getting it wrong or you're embarrassed, you can turn to your partner and they can correct you. So this is another grace period. And I tell the students, this is your time to fix it, to improve, to get clarification. And I think the students like that. And it gives them that, again, an opportunity to be successful. Mm-hmm. Does anyone have anything they want to ask me about pair share in case I wasn't clear about what we're doing with the higher order pair share? Again, it's reinforcing that the students not only just talk to each other, but that they really dialogue. That's critical thinking. And so the pair share that I'm offering is the opportunity for students to really get that critical higher order thinking, the complexity, the application with each other. And so this is basically a higher order type of pair share, not just rote, yeah, but really listen. And I just want to, I want to ratchet it up a little bit. You get more kids engaged when you're at that level. And by the way, I do this for even early, for kindergarten, for year 1.
All right. Very good, Larry. Thank you so much for that. We did the pair share. And of course, we covered it last week. We're just sort of doing a fast review of everything. Okay. And John had a lot of EL ideas that he gave everybody. But I like the fact that you're giving us gestures for everything here. That's a way for us to remember it, isn't it, Larry?
Right. Yep. If you're walking around, and if you're Vanessa, if you're walking around and you see that the teachers can do a pair share, all you got to do is this. And that's a kind of a prompt. And the teachers will go, oh, yeah, let's pair share. If you do this, it's a prompt, and you can say, oh, okay, everybody, let's read together. Track, pronounce. So then let's do attention signal. Attention signal is just learning position. Teachers, this is so critical. It's not just getting their attention. with their ears, but it's with their posture. Students are more likely to be attentive if there's nothing in their hands. So I tell the little kids, hands on head, hands on shoulder, hands on desk. So attention means getting there, making sure that they're in the learning position. So that means no, sliding in the desk, no heads down, no eyeballs anywhere else. They should be focused on you. Teachers, even if you're in the back of the room, the side of the room, wherever you are, when you say 1, 2, eyes on you, 100% of those eyeballs should be right on you. Nothing in their hands, no playing with any manipulatives. It's absolute attention. That's how I like to control, make sure that everybody's accountable, is that everyone's in the position to learn. And then whiteboards, again, everybody chin it, and then make sure you read their answers, the correct ones first, and then you can call on other students to self-correct. And then finally, whiteboards are just this, whiteboards. And the last one is complete sentences. Public voice, speaking clear. I like to tell my students, sometimes stand and deliver, and loud and clear. So this is complete sentences, everybody. This is whiteboards. This is my attention signal, and this is my pair share. So now talk to your partner. Bees go first this time, and pick one of those engagement norms, as much as information as you can tell your partner, and then switch. Go ahead and do that now.
All right. Make sure we switch partners, about 30 more seconds.
Okay, everybody, 1, 2, eyes on you, learning position, eyes up here. All right, I'm going to call on somebody. Here we go. I want you to tell me what your partner said this time. So if I call on you, you could say, okay, my partner said, this is the student engagement they really liked. Number 6.
So my partner Lauren really liked the pair share because of the wait time that it gives the kids, and then calling on them to ask what their partner said to encourage that they're listening.
Wonderful. All right, number 6, you get to call on someone between 1 and 32.
32.
16, go ahead.
Hi there. We talked about pair share and how important it is to explicitly teach pair share, so then the students all are aware of what is expected moving forward.
Yeah, very good.
Can you just share with us, we couldn't see your hands before, what is the action for share?
Okay, pair share.
Attention, sorry.
Oh, attention's just sitting up straight. Hands folded, ready to learn. Or you could go like this, ready to learn. Okay, and now one more person, and I'm going to pick on number 3. What did your partner say?
My partner talked about the complete sentences at the end and the action that goes with it, encouraging the kids to use a complete sentence, improving their oral language.
Here's one thing I want to add to that. Whenever we use the complete sentences, we're not going to allow pronouns. I don't know I don't know what it means. You need to be very specific. So if you're talking math, I need to know that you're talking about a variable, or you're isolating the variable, or you're talking about the X, Y. I want to hear the correct language when you're reading a sentence. I want to talk about character traits, and I want you to use those words. I want to make sure the students repeat, because those are the 24 repetitions that need to happen for students to learn the academic language. So no pronouns. I know you know what it means, but the students need to practice those words. So I want them to say the adjective, the adverb. I want to hear those academic words, everybody.
When we work with our schools, we often say, you know what, these are non-negotiables. This is what we kind of expect with our instructional practices. Vanessa, is there something here that you would like to reinforce with your teachers, or something here that you wanted to pronounce out loud to them right now while we have a moment before Larry switches to the lesson delivery example?
I think that at the moment we've been exploring whiteboards. So I think that has been a non-negotiable, that we're using the whiteboards before our maths lessons every day. And I also know that people have really been using the track with me this week. So I think for me, if people, and for Lorraine and Jackie as executive leadership team, along with our level leaders, if people really explore these different engagement norms over the next week, that's what we want to see you doing, so that you can try it and engage with kids and then have a conversation with us as well.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. And teachers, I will share with you one story. One time, John Hollingsworth and I are visiting a school in Los Angeles, and the teacher's like, "Oh, I love the engagement norms. I do them all always, right?" And then the teacher says, "All right, students, whiteboards out." And they all looked at each other like, "Whiteboards? Oh, whiteboards. That's right." And they went to go get the whiteboards, and they're brand new. They're super clean. It was pretty obvious they weren't using them. So it's pretty easy to tell if the students are ready for
They're pretty backed up, so I think they're being used.
Awesome.
That's great. That's
Okay.
great. And then one quick story, Larry, then I'll let you begin. One quick story. My favorite teacher, who I happen to be married to, absolutely fantastic. Every year she's told, and I told this story, I think, to you guys already, but every year she's told she has the best behaved class, the luckiest class. How does she get so lucky with her class? Well, right from the beginning, just like Larry said, he went with the engagement norms. She went with the engagement norms right away, along with classroom practices and instructional habits, right? Like, as you should have them, classroom procedures. But she went with her engagement norms, and she knows for a fact, class, yes, yes. You know, they know the reply to that. And she'll whisper it. She'll say it up loud. You know, she'll say it with, the different ways or a funny accent. And the kids will respond immediately, and they'll get back to the learning position. Say, "Here, track with me, read with me." And they just do it. And she's able to maintain her class constantly, especially when administration's coming by for their visit. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Does everyone see the fraction word problem here? Good. All right, I'm going to go through this lesson, and then I'm going to do something really quick. We're going to go back to the poster, but I'm going to do something called checking for understanding. I'm going to teach first, then I'm going to ask a question, then I'm going to pause and pair share, then I'm going to pick a non-volunteer. Haven't I been doing that? And then I'm going to listen to the response, and then I'm going to echo. Teachers, that's what we've been doing the whole time that we started. So every time I asked you to do something, I was actually doing TAPL. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to pretend you're my fourth grade. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-pronounce any words you didn't know. So let's just say the word solve. So students, could we all say solve? Solve means to find an answer. When I say solve, you say find an answer. Solve. When I say find an answer, you say solve. Find an answer. Okay, students, track while I read it. I will read first, you track along. It says, we will add and subtract to solve fraction word problems. Now let's all read together. Ready, read. Thank you. Now I would like a partner to read to B partner. What are we going to learn? Go ahead and do that now. Okay, now switch. B's, tell A's. Okay, and everybody, what does solve mean? It means to find an answer. All right, here we go. Could I have number 11? Please read the learning objective loud and proud.
We will add and subtract to solve fraction word problems.
Beautiful. That was great, everybody. All right, now, who can tell me what solve means? Could number 29, what does solve mean in a complete sentence?
Solve means to find an answer.
Perfect. That's it. Teachers, took about 2 minutes to teach the learning objective, to teach a new word, to have you pair share. So what did I do? Let's all recall, did I pre-pronounce? Did I have you track and read? Okay, I didn't use a gesture. Oh, I kind of did. I said to find the answer for solve. Did I use an attention signal 1, 2, eyes on you? Did you pair share?
Yes.
Okay, so in that little span of time, I did like 6 out of 8 engagements. That's how fast this moves.
Now, Larry, I'm going to add some spice to this. This is great. I'm going to add some English language development spice. And the spice I'm going to add is solve. absolutely fantastic. Everything's correct. One thing I would do with solve, find an answer. Everyone always talks about differentiation in a question. So one of the checking for understanding questions that I would do is, can you tell me what solve means? Or better yet, can you use it in a sentence? So that way, if I call in anyone, find an answer, or maybe I might get a sentence. Oh, I'm going to solve the problem on the board. So that's sort of differentiation with a question, and I'm rehearsing one more time and maybe some different sample lessons for my English learners with me. That's just a little bit of EL spice I would put on it.
That's great. And yes, teachers at any time, it's very helpful if you can use the new academic word in a sentence. So I need to find the answer. I need to solve my tax problem. So we're in that right now, which means I need to find the answer. So you put it in a sentence and really easy to understand, and then have the kids do their own. All right. So here's what I'd like you to do. What I'd like you to do, everybody, is would you please look at this lesson, and I want one person to teach and the other one to pretend you're a student. And I want somebody to, one person to teach. Now, here's what I'd like to do. Get into groups of 4. So one person is going to teach in that group of 4. The other 3, you're going to pretend you're students and practice this. And then again, how do we practice this? Our engagement norms. So I want someone to go ahead and do what I just did. Teacher reads, students read, pair share, and then call somebody.
All right, we'll give them 2 minutes for that, Larry. 2 minutes for that?
Yep, let's give them 2 minutes. All right, question really quick. Did John show you the yes and the no whiteboards last time? No. Well, this is for early, age students, year 1, year 2. They're not ready to write, so you can just ask a question, and they can either say yes or no. These are the posters we have. Or for students that haven't even learned how to read, we can say red is no, I don't agree, and green is yes, I do agree. So these are really fun for kids who haven't learned to read just yet. If they can have these boards as whiteboards, and of course, we have the regular whiteboards where you write on them.
That's really important, Larry, because a lot of teachers like to do thumbs up, thumbs down, but that's so nebulous, isn't it? They're always kind of moving up and down all the time. So that's very good.
Well, what I like to do is if you say yes or no, I can see it very clearly. And here's the next question I ask. Why did you agree? Or why did you say yes? And why did you say no? So it's not enough for students to shake their head or show you thumbs up. We need to go a step further and ask students the why question. So why did you say yes? That's a noun. Why did you say no? That's a verb. So that's the other reason why I like doing these sort of kinesthetic. Plus, it gets kids involved using something tactile. Okay, let's move to the next part. Any questions about that, Vanessa, from your group?
No. We just said take a long. If you've got to wait, some of that, especially in the senior grade, they take forever to get themselves organised. I know it'd be a matter of getting them into a routine and practicing.
Right.
It seems a long time element.
Yeah. So one of the exercises you can do is to train the students on the routines, like you said, and we can just spend like 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning. I usually do this at the beginning of the year so that we can work on that time, and the students then know the expectations of how much time they're going to pair share. And I use an 8 timer. So like after 15 seconds, the bell goes off, and then the kids know to switch. And again, it depends on the complexity of the question. Maybe it's 30 seconds, but it gets the kids into the routine that, we can't talk forever. And then the other thing we do is we listen to the audience, the kids. When the volume goes up, the kids are talking about soccer or football or rugby or cricket. And so, that's the time to get them re-engaged. And so these are all little cues. But we don't want to spend too much time on the pair share, and we don't want to spend too much time A and B talking. So again, we can figure out, again, from the age of the kids, and whether or not it's getting out of hand.
No, that's very good. Larry, go ahead and advance. And I just want to share a couple of thoughts. You know, when we do our whiteboards, the whiteboards again are for us, the teacher. We're going to make decisions based on what we're seeing. Remember, if the whiteboards are 50-50, the kids are sort of guessing at that point. If it's 60, 70, 80% correct answers, we know we can go on. When the whiteboards are 50-50%, what did we learn last time we met? It was we have to go back to reteach. That's part one. And part two about procedures with whiteboards, 100% correct. We start with something simple. Everybody write down your favorite color. 1, 2, 3, chin it, and you stand in different positions of the room. You know, run to one side and make it fun. Like, okay, chin it. And they have to show it to me. No matter where I'm at, they have to show it to me. So we make it procedures, we make it fun. And then last but not least, when we're doing pair share, the first couple of times you do pair share, go ahead and cut off a little bit early because you want to create that urgency of them sharing. And you say A, nice and loud, A partners share, 20 seconds. B partners loud. Guys, I hate to cut you off. 1, 2, eyes on me. Let's continue. I know you said some more pair share, but when we pair share, guys, we have to be very quick about it. You know, you don't have to say things like that. I'm just we're setting them up to when we pair share, we're only pair share because the time might be up any moment now. All right, go ahead, Larry.
Teachers, this is an example of the rule of 2. So a rule of 2 means this. Teacher does it first with your modeling, and then the students do the second problem. So you see we have 2 fraction problems about pizza. But before I do this, I always go back to what the students should already know about a fraction. And so that's why we have remember the concept. Do you all see this? That concept, our lessons always have a reminder. Students, it's been maybe a week since we looked at this. So let me remind you what it is. So let's all read this together. My turn, please track. A fraction is a number that represents part of a whole. Let's all read it together. Ready, go. And remember, represents means to show. So a fraction shows a number that is part of a whole. So students, everyone make a fraction line. Everyone do this right now. This is my fraction line. We have 2 parts of a fraction. The part of the top is my n. That's the numerator. Can we say numerator? On the bottom, let's make a d. This is my d. Okay, so a d is denominator, d for down. Everyone say d for down. So now, students, I know where the denominator goes. Everybody, where does the denominator go? Down. It goes on the bottom of my fraction. What goes on top? That's my n. What goes on the bottom? Okay, my denominator. So that's how I remember that. So students, let's all read this together. The numerator represents the number of selected equal parts. Your turn. Of selected equal parts. So students, the number on top shows how many equal parts there are. I'm going to show you that in a second. Now let's say denominator. And the denominator represents or shows the number of total equal parts. That's the D for the down. So students, the denominator means all of the equal parts. So let me show you what that means. So students, what fraction of the pizza has been eaten? Can we all say this together? Ready, go. What fraction of the pizza has been eaten? Students, I always remember that the denominator, the number on the bottom, 8, represents the number of the total equal parts. Let's count how many pizza parts there are. Let's count together. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many whole parts did we have, everybody? 8. That's called the what? And where does that go? Down. And it represents, everyone, let's do it. It represents the total, all of the equal parts. So students, now let's say the numerator. Say numerator. Numerator. And it represents the number of selected equal parts. So students, what fraction of the pizza has been eaten? I can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 are missing. And that's the number of selected equal parts. That's the fraction of the pizza has been eaten. We have 4 that's been eaten. How many do we have left?
4.
So what fraction of the pizza is left? 4. So students, what's our numerator? 4, and it goes on the top. What's our denominator? And it's all of the total parts, and it's the denominator that goes on the bottom. Turn to your partner and B's tell A's, what is the difference between the numerator, show with your body, between the numerator and the denominator? B's go first. Tell your partner, what's the difference? Say it like this. The difference between and now make sure you switch. When you're done, let the A partner get a turn. Okay, 10 more seconds. All right, class. 1, 2. Eyes on you. Class. Yes. All right, Vanessa, I'm going to call somebody. And the question is, what's the difference between the numerator and the denominator? All right, I'm going to call on number 9.
9's not here anymore. So it's 9 needed to leave. So 8.
Yeah, that's it.
Really? Is someone kidding me, or did 9 leave? Did 9 go get a pizza? So say it like this: the difference between the numerator and the denominator is the numerator goes on the, and it represents the what?
The number of selected equal parts,
Beautiful. And then the denominator goes on the,
bottom down,
and it represents the,
number of total equal parts.
and that's how we help students, everybody. If you aren't sure, just show them a gesture. And then you can even start with a sentence frame. So I always encourage kids to do that. Once I do that, guess what? The next person will do it better. The third person will even do it better. So this is how you rehearse the students to be able to answer in a complete sentence. And I always give sentence frames. Having done that, now look at the rule of 2. I just did the first one. Students, could you now do the second one? All right. So go ahead and put a fraction line somewhere on a paper. And now let's read this together. Everybody, let's read. Ready, go. What fraction of the pizza has been eaten? So students, let's count how many are missing. And now let's read the rest. What fraction of the pizza is left? How many slices are left? So could you please, on your board, write the fraction, numerator and denominator. Go ahead and do that on your own. I would tell the students to do this on their own. And then after they've done it, they're going to show me on their whiteboard. So Vanessa, do we have whiteboards there? All right. Could you call on a couple of students to read their answer, please? I can't see their whiteboards.
Okay. Rachel, can you share your answer, please?
In a complete sentence.
The fraction of the pizza that has been eaten is 5/8.
Okay, that's correct. And what fraction of the pizza is left?
The fraction of the pizza that is left is 3/8.
Wonderful. Okay, so 5/8 and 3/8. And then we would check to make sure that everyone was on the same page. So this is the rule of 2. I do one and then you do one. And then we make a connection. This is how we make the connection. Students, you already know about fractions. Today we'll use this information to add and subtract fractions. So now here's what I'd like you to do. Again, as before, this time a different person's going to teach this. And the other 3, you're going to be students. Go ahead and teach this in your groups.
Hi, thank you, Megan. Okay. Now, that was our I do. Now, you guys will redo. What fraction of the pizza is left? Remember that it's now. Count it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's the total. You guys are right back. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, I need
Okay. Any questions about how we do this? Again, check for understanding, teach first. It's the rule of two. The problem that I think we make a lot of times is we have students jump right into this without warming them up. And in our concept, the way that we develop, or EDI is developed in the components, is that this part is the warm up. So it's very difficult to get kids to start in already doing problems when they need a little reminder. It's the same thing as before we go for a mile run, we need to stretch the little legs of our kids. So we want to make sure the kids can warm up first before we give them a full run. And this is called the rule of two. All right. So Joel, did you want to add anything before we move to the next part?
Oh, no, that was it. I think that was really good. I think you made it, I think you have to remember the concept. And teachers, that's just an example. That could be like your word wall that you already have. Maybe you're doing character traits. It could just be a list of character traits. We always like to have like a reference point. I know teachers are famous for having fantastic walls and stuff. Feel free to run over to it and point to it. But Larry's absolutely right. We're always pointing to something. I'm modeling our thinking. I'm modeling my language usage, and then I'm going to have them do it. And I'm going to have my whiteboard. So I'm going to see if they're understanding this. I'm activating prior knowledge. I'm not testing anything. I'm just saying, hey, this is what we're going to talk about today. And I've already taught this earlier in a couple of days ago or a week or two ago.
Now let's go over everything really quickly.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce numerator first? Did the teacher do that first? Yes. Did I have you guys read with me afterwards? Yes. All right. Did I do a gesture? Yes. Did we do pair share? Yes. Did we do an attention signal? Did we use whiteboards? Yes. And did you answer in a complete sentence? Yes. Okay. That's the flow. It should be as effortlessly as that. Do you need to do all engagement norms? No. But try to do at least 2 a minute. Okay, that's the normal. That's the kind of the trend for all this. We want to make sure kids are always doing something. In other words, they don't have time to be bored, and they're always on the edge of their seat. They're going to be called on at any time. And then here's another rule: all students are participants. There are no spectators. Make sure everybody's doing something. Even do your proximity walks. Make sure the students you're listening to them. I even do this sometimes. If I listen to really good conversations, I may go to a student and say, I like what you said. Be prepared to be called on. I may call on you because that was such a good answer. It helps give the students that boost, that confident boost that they need sometimes. So anyway, let's move on. This is the concept. And it says it right here. So in this case, this is going to be anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes to teach. So let's recap. The learning objective. This should take about 2 minutes. The activate prior knowledge, about 5 minutes. And the concept, 10 to 15, depending on the complexity. Teachers, I think this is the part we don't want to skip on. See, the concept drives learning. The concept is what the students need to absolutely have a firm grasp of, because the skill advances the concept, not the other way around. Whenever I do a skill, I'm always going back to the concept. What are we doing? We're adding fractions. We're looking for common denominators. We're looking for a numerator. We're looking to add the bottom. Whatever it is we're doing, we always need to make sure the kids always go back to the concept, which is how to add and subtract fractions. So I just can't really hit this home enough. We really need to make sure that the concept is 100%. Can we all say that together? How much percentage should the kids have? 100%. They should all know the concept. Okay, so then here we go. Everyone, could you please track while I read it first? There are no new words here. I've already taught these words, so I don't need to reteach, but I'm still going to read first for pronunciation. My turn. To add fractions, fractions must have a common denominator. Your turn. Everybody go. So students, you notice that common denominator is in red. Look at my red. What number is red hit down here below? The number 6. Students, 6 should be the common denominator for both of my fractions. So I have 3, 6, and 2, 6. What do they all have in common? They both have the denominator, which is 6. That means it's common. It's the one that you're going to see repeated. So common denominator means the denominator that is repeated. All right. So that's what we mean by it must have a common denominator. So now students, let's read the first bullet. My turn. I'll do it first. Please track. Keep the common denominator or number of equal parts. Your turn. Ready, go. So students, the number of equal parts is 6. So what I'm saying is that we need to keep the common denominator what's the same as the 6. 3, 6 plus 2, 6. What's going to stay the same, everybody? The denominator. It stays the same. We don't add that. What do we add? We add the numerator. So let's do that right now. Let's all track while I read. My turn. For the numerator, add the given number of equal parts. Your turn. Ready, go. So students, I have 3 out of 6. I have 3 tomatoes and I have 2 cucumbers. That's how I get the 3, 6 and the 2, 6. 3 represents the numerator or the number of tomatoes out of a total of 6 spaces. So let me read this with you. Let's read this track while I read. 3, 6 of a vegetable garden space has been planted with tomatoes. So students, out of 6 spaces, how many have tomatoes? 3. That's how we get 3, 6. Let's keep reading. Ready, go. Another 2, 6 will be planted with cucumbers. So students, out of 6 total spaces, how many spaces will we have? 2. So students, that's how we get 2, 6. Now I need to add them all together. Remember, if you have a common denominator, in this case, 6 spaces, it stays the same. It stays the same. We don't add it. We just keep it with our fraction. What do we add, everybody? We add the numerator. Everybody, what do we add? The numerator. That's the number on top. So watch what that means. 3, 6 plus 2, 6 equals 5, 6. So students, what numbers did we add? 3 and 2. Turn to your partner and explain how we only added the numerator and we didn't add the denominator. A's, go first. Talk to your partner.
Okay,
and now switch. All right, 1, 2, eyes on you. So students, there's another word that I may have to teach you. Now, Joel, I didn't do it because given most of our students, if they're EOs, English only, they know what given means, but I'm going to tell you what it also could mean. Given means chosen. So for the numerator, add the chosen number of equal parts. In this case, I chose 3 tomatoes and I chose 2 cucumbers. So that's what we mean by given, or the numbers that we chose. We only had 3 tomatoes and we only had 2 cucumbers. Those are the numbers that were given to us or chosen, just in case I need to teach that. So everybody, what does given mean? It means chosen. Okay. So students, where did we get 6 from? We got it from the, let's read this all together. We got it from the total garden space that we have. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That represents the total number of parts. That's the denominator. And the number is 6. Students, have I planted anything in the last space? No. But I have 6 spaces. That's why we have 6 as our denominator. I want to make sure, because kids will say, no, Mr. Federico, I only see 5 vegetables. There should only be 5/5 or whatever. I tell them, no, I have a total of 6 spaces. I just haven't planted the last space. Oh, okay. So how many total vegetables do I have? 5. Out of how many? 6. That's called a fraction. It shows, represents a equal part. It shows and represents a part of the whole. All right, now that we did that, watch this. I'm going to ask a question. I have 2 answers, A and B. Everybody, let's read this together. Which is the representation for the answer to the following problem? This is Mila. Can we say Mila? Mila, everyone, let's read. Mila is reading a book. She read 2/4 on Monday and 1/4 on Tuesday. How much of the book has she read? Students, I want you to look at this problem. Is the answer going to be A, or will the answer be B? Remember, I'm looking for the denominator. That's a hint. The number that represents the total number of parts. So students, that's a prompt. So turn to your partner and A's tell B's, what do you think it is? A or B, and then switch. Go ahead and do that right now. Which is it, A or B? Now switch. And then once you talk on your whiteboards, is it A or B? And when you answer, I'd like you to answer in a complete sentence. Blank, A or B, is a representation for the answer because, and then you have to give one of these answers because it has what? Okay, so let's see your whiteboards. Show your whiteboards up. Chin it. And then Vanessa, call on somebody to read their answer and make sure they answer in a complete sentence, please.
Okay, number 20.
Blank is a representation.
A is a representation for the answer because we only add the numerator.
Yeah. So you see that 2 + 1 equals what? 3. But students, how many total spaces do we have?
4.
What's wrong with B? There you go. Always ask that question. What's wrong with B? Why does B not work? Because the total number of spaces there is 8. I'm not looking for 8. You added, if you did, you added the denominator. We never add the denominator, students. It stays the same. So students, if you picked A, you are correct because the denominator is 4 and we never add. So 2/4 + 1/4 equals 3/4. Which is the only answer it could possibly be? A. So if kids pick B, this is how we correct them. Now explain to me why A is the correct answer. Because we don't add the denominator. We only add the numerator, and there's 2 + 1 equals 1, 2, 3. And the 4, that's the denominator, stays the same. A is the only correct answer. All right, make sure you have the students answer in a complete sentence using the academic language. All right, remember what I said, everybody. This takes about 10 to 15 minutes, but it's because we need to make sure that teachers, we don't ask the students what they think it is. Don't ever do that. We declare it.
Right.
We always declare this is what 5 represents. This is what 6 represents. 3 is the number of tomato plants. 2 is the number of cucumber plants. 6 represents the total number of spaces. That's what we need to do.
Good.
Now, Joel,
Larry,
did you
I
want
have
to?
some- I have
Go
some
ahead,
thoughts
Joel.
on this, if that's okay. Okay, thank you. All right. So one of the things I think is the checking for understanding question here, right? This is a big deal. When you look at this, if you were to show this to your year 4 kid, their minds will explode. Well, this is a NAPLAN-based question, right? It's an application question. It's tons of text, right? So one of the things that we'll do, we'll definitely track with me, read with me, because we're going to read the question. And everyone's always talking about test prep, but test prep really is just translating the stuff into English. Everybody just read with me. Which is the representation for the answer to the following problems? All right, guys, what they're asking us is they want to know which picture is it going to be, A or B, representation. They're asking for like an image of it, right? That's what it means, you know. So I'm kind of like translating a little bit for them. Oh, and here's the question this is a question they're asking us. Let's read this together. Mila is reading a book. Oh, that sounds good. She reads 2/4 on Monday and 1/4 on Tuesday. How much of that book does she read? Everyone, whiteboards out. And of course, whatever metacognition that you like to do, right? Your vote is your power. Everybody whiteboards out. Now, if you think how much of the book has she read is the representation, is the picture, is it A, put A nice and big on your whiteboard. Now, if you think the representation of how much Mila has read, if that's the image of B, is that the representation of B? That's the picture of B, right? I'm doing different ways of getting that across to them, right? If that's B, then I want you to put B nice and big on your whiteboard. 1, 2, 3, chin it, show me your whiteboard answers. So right now, as a teacher, I look everywhere, and I'm looking to see if they have the right answer. But more importantly, remember, if the whiteboard answers are half A and half B, whiteboards down, reteach. But if I'm at 60, 70, 80%, we have more answers going to the right way. Everyone get ready to answer. And when you answer, I want you to say A is the representation for the answer because, and then give me your reasons why. All right, let's go ahead and practice that one time together. Everyone with me? A is a representation of the answer because, you know, and then let's practice with your partners. Can my A partners share with my B partners and give them the full answer? And it's okay to change your answer right now because we're all learning today. So A's go first and they share with B's. All right, B's, share. Let's go ahead. And don't forget to say the sentence frame. A is a representation of the answer because, and then I fake the popsicle stick. I'm faking it. I'm lying here. And I'm going to call on the right answer first. The first answer that's going to be said out loud is going to be the correct answer. I call my buddy Micah. Micah, I saw that you wrote the correct answer down. Can you share that with everybody? Now, of course, teaching with explicit direct instruction sometimes, as Dr. Sylvia says, is teaching like in molasses, right? So the student's going to look at you and say, A, right? And you die a little bit inside and you're like, okay. And so, but what do? Like, oh, no, hey, buddy, that's right. But I need you to say the whole sentence with me. The whole sentence with me. Oh, yeah, sorry, teacher. A is a representation of the answer because there's 3 on top and 4 on the bottom. You know, sometimes they answer kind of a little differently. What do we do? Effective feedback. The patron saint of education is John Hattie. Patron saint of education from Australia. And he says, we do effective feedback. Say, oh, that's right. A is a representation of the answer because 3 is the numerator. That's on top. Maybe I'll do the gesture, right? I'll do the numerator on top. And that's the whole of it, right? There's 4 pages. That's the denominator. I reinforce the answer. I use the academic language again. I say, oh my gosh, that's so good. Then maybe I call him my high performer. Someone who's just blowing it out of the water, right? Like, oh yeah, it's A is a representation of the answer because, it's 3/4. Everyone knows that because I'm just adding it across. That's what it is. She knows it. It's always like, like a lily in a class or something. So what do? We have a high performer who's just nailing it. We do something very quick and very easy to get free extended thinking. I simply say, oh my gosh, thanks for being in the class. You're so polite. That's a great answer. Now, why did you not choose B? So my high performer who answered very quickly, I reverse the polarity of the question and I get free extended thinking. How great is that, right? Everybody's always talking about this kind of stuff. We do it for free. Why didn't you choose B? And then I call my low performer, or maybe the person who has the whiteboard and they change their answer, or, my EL, or I go looking for misunderstanding. And I call on, I notice you changed your answer. That's great. We're all learning today. Can you share the answer with me? They look at you, they blink twice, they do the hunching shoulder thing. And Larry's going to give some more examples of this the next time we meet with our effective feedback. But one of the ideas is a teacher never yields. Oh, that's okay. Hey, repeat after me. A is the representation. A is the representation for the answer, because, a teacher never yields. They have to say the academic language. There has to be that wonderful, beautiful discourse. So when we do this humble method of teaching, this explicit direct instruction, what Larry just did right now is what? He did the concept development to add fractions must have a common denominator. He read it. He had the students read it. They had the students read it to themselves. He gave us gestures. He modeled the thinking for us right here. He had the great, wonderful examples of the graphic organizer. He gave us examples and non-examples, reinforced it, modeled the thinking. Then we did checking for understanding question. They did their pair shares. They read the academic language. They rehearsed the academic language. They even did some test prep. When we're doing this beautiful concept development in 10 to 15 minutes, our students are rehearsing that academic language and knowing the concept development maybe 12 to 17 times because you're doing this fantastic explicit direct instruction. All right, Larry, you have the floor.
We only have about 11 minutes left.
Yeah.
Really quickly, teachers, I'm even simpler than a lot of that because I do this a lot with kids. I just simply go to my example and I'll say, students, remember 3, 6 plus 2, 6. Did we add the 6? No. Okay, students, I'm giving you a hint. 2 fourths, 1 fourth. So, I even go back to my example. That's what it's there for. And so a lot of my students will go, oh, okay. No, we're not adding. And so B, right off the bat, they're adding. That's how they come up with 8. So they can self-regulate. All right. So remember what I said. This is where we plant our flag. This is how we get our students to understand that concept. Everything grows from this. All right. This is called a critical attributes. These are the things that we need to make sure our kids walk away with. And that is what we add, what we don't add, and what does it mean to add and subtract fractions. So we don't have time, but we have some more of these representations. And again, it's to show whether the students understand the concept of adding and not adding. So you can see 4 plus 4, this is wrong because you're adding the denominator on this particular question. A is already wrong, but let's move on because I want to go to skill. B is, of course, the correct answer. I just want to make sure we're clear on this before we move on, and then I'm going to go ahead and close up. Students, I always tell the students, we have 5 steps to answer the problem. How many steps, everybody? 5. Make sure you do this, teachers. Have the students read it and then do it. Don't read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then do the problem. Read number 1 and then do number 1. Repeat after me, everybody. Read number 1 and then do number 1. So it says, read the problem. Let's read it. Blank, blah, 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 blah. Now let's look at 2. Everyone, let's read 2. Identify the words that show addition, underline, and then do it. We underline. Okay. Then identify the given fractions, box it, and then do it. So the rule here is read 1, do 1, read 2, do 2, and so on and so forth. So that way the students follow your process. So I think it's really important because here's what we want the students to do. We want the students to be able to take their time, read each problem carefully, make sure they understand it, and then they perform. So then after they do number 4, represent the answer. Represent means to, stands for the answer as an illustration mathematically. I read number 4, I do number 4, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to interpret the answer. And the interpretation is the 5th one. Interpret means to explain. It means that Oliver drank 1/5 of the jug of orange juice. Now, because we only have a limited amount of time, notice my checking for understanding over here up to the right. It says, how did I and how did you? What this means is if you model it, then you said, what did I do? What did Mr. Federico do? If the kids are doing it, then you say, how did you do it? How did you identify it? Number 4, how did I do it? What did Mr. Federico do to represent the additional problem? I colored it. The next time, students, what did you do? This is the skill and the guided practice. I did the first one, which is 5/8. Watch this. Now the kids are going to do this one. And again, they're going to read the problem and then do it. Identify the words that show addition, underline, and then do it. Identify the given fractions, box it out. Represent the answers and then color it. And then work out the algorithm and then interpret the answer. Now watch. Students, how did you identify this problem? How did you represent the additional problem? This is the rule of 2. And it's always the teacher does it first. That's I do. This is skill. And then the next one is the students. That's guided. I wanted to show you that really briefly so that you understand the difference between modeling it, that's the skill, and the guided, that's the students. So I is skill. How did I do it? Guided practices, you. How did you do it? All right. And now I'm not done. I'm going to go ahead and show you some other things here. We do a couple of more. Then we go into relevance. We always need to give the students why it's important they learned it. So students, why did we need to know this? Let's all read it together. This only takes a couple of minutes. Have the students read the relevance with you. Solving addition and subtraction fraction problems will help you with many situations that we use in real life. And then it could also be on the test. Call on a few students. Why is it important? And then finally, we always ask a closure question. And that's whether you have 2 minutes or 3 minutes, we always need to ask this question. What did you learn today about adding and subtracting to solve fraction word problems? We always want to leave with this, even if there's only 2 minutes left. Notice we have a word bank. That means the students have to use these words in the response. So teachers, since we only have like 5 more minutes, I wanted you to see pretty much the lesson. Learning objective, activate prior knowledge, concept, skill and guided practice, relevance, and closure. Those are basically the components of the lessons that we have. And so the question I have for you, would you please turn to your partner and explain one or two things that you learned about today's professional development and have that conversation. And then Vanessa, call in a couple of teachers and have them report out.
Okay, plan number 11. Come on, you already forgot to view 11. I'll be kind. Number 8. Oh, you've had a turn too. Number, and I'll be fair, I know you can call again, but I'll just make it fair. Number 16.
So last week we were thinking about using one student engagement norm, and we did that. But watching you today, I guess my takeaway is that incorporating all of them is very, very attainable and something I can start tomorrow.
I really like the idea of the pair share. So pair sharing at first, then giving them the process time, then allowing them the opportunity to prove it, that they actually understand it, and it gives you instant feedback as well.
Okay, wonderful. And Vanessa, go ahead and give us the last word in the last 1 minute here. What's one thing that you took away that you really liked for your school to start looking at and focusing on?
Well, the present note, I've already been thinking about this, so Luke is giving me a hard time at the front. I was watching everybody today really engaging with the engagement norms and looking at all of the strategies, the structure of the lessons. So My challenge is we've actually printed off a number of the posters.
Mhm.
I'd like to see them up in your classrooms
Yeah.
so that you are reminded of Cathal, and we had some in the staff room. If you didn't grab one, the posters from last week are there. We'd like you to have those posters up in your rooms so that you are actually engaging with that. We've got a break next week. We're not engaging with Joel and Larry next week because of Year 6 camp. So you've got 2 weeks and then we're going to come back to you and be able to share what we have been doing.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to present today. Thank you for having me.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, Vanessa.
Thank
Good meeting
you.
you.
See you soon.